Thank you for joining me. Thank you for reading my writing and like caring and taking the time. Like I always appreciate when you send me messages and stuff like that. Especially being that I haven't like developed that much of an audience yet or like a community that big. I care much more about like the quality of the people. And you're one of the people that I feel very grateful for, like when I get a message from, and it's just like, yeah, I'm sharing my work for a very special reason. Um, but yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me because every time I read your writing, I do also resonate with yours so much because it's like you take me to a place and I visualize it. Like the imagery that you put in your writing is so beautiful. And so I just really enjoy it. And you also push me to be more open with my writing. So I really thank you for that. And yeah, just really am thankful that you invited me and thought of me for this as well.
We met through the Black Writers Collective, um, which is an initiative that was created by the Black Women's Collective. You definitely inspired me with your writing when I first heard your writing before I even knew who you were. Um, and like that just reminds me of this thing, this affirmation that I say daily, like most of the time. My confidence inspires others, and like even if, because I don't always find myself to be the most confident person, like I'm still developing, but like when I step into that, it seems to inspire other people, like you, for example. And then when you share your work and it resonates with me, I feel inspired to turn to the page and write. Like your confidence inspires me very much. Yeah, it seems to me like your writing, from everything that I've heard so far of your writing, like it just sounds like your writing is like inspired by loved ones or like people in your life.
It definitely is. I feel like I usually write a lot about just love in general. And I guess the beginning of my writing really started in high school when I was like caught up on like the first crush that I had. So I would just like write a bunch like in class all the time, just writing random poetry or just like random things. And then it just evolved from there, just writing about all different types of feelings and emotions that I had. And it kind of became like a healing thing. And now I'm trying to take it to the next level. Speaking of which, when we first met, though, I will say that that was probably the first time that I was like really starting to like branch out and share my writing in spaces because I would always go to like meetings like that where you would share your writing and things, but I would never share. Like, I was just that person that sat quietly, and then I don't know why that space felt so comfortable for me to be able to just like open up and like we all like just shared so much. So I feel like it was a really good space, and so I really enjoyed meeting you there too because I feel like now we're like really good friends, and so it's cool. I'm thankful for that space.
I'm so thankful as well. And like I too like had just started sharing my writing and like being more comfortable. Like that summer was when I was like, okay, I can't hold back anymore. But same, like when I was in high school, well, when I had just graduated high school, but even before that, like I knew that I loved to write, but I wasn't writing at all. And if I did, it was just for like a period of time, and then that was it for a long time. But like it just never left. It was always there when I was ready to turn to it. Um, and now it's become more of self-care, like you said. And it's a way to take care of myself and like check in with myself rather than just to like wow other people. um I when I graduated high school, I guess you could say like I was very inspired by the first boyfriend that I ever had, and the connection that we shared and what I wanted it to be and the things that I saw and imagined while we were together, and like the conceptualizations of this person. I was very inspired by him and our relationship, and also the things that may not have been actually real but that I kind of projected. And like that's when I really started like putting myself into like create like writing creatively and expressing myself metaphorically and sharing it sometimes. But like the summer that you and I met was when I started my writing page at Written with Love, and that's when I really started to take myself serious. And ever since then, like I've met people like you who care, and are inspired by me and I'm inspired by you. So I'm really grateful for being authentic. And like, it just shows that authenticity really does conjure genuine connections. Like, being in these spaces and not sharing your writing, like I've struggled with speaking up, like being heard. That is a fear of mine, but it's so crazy because like I've been wanting to be heard for so long. So it's like an internal battle that no one knows that I go through, you know? And like I may look calm to people, but on the inside I'm like burning because I have so much to say, so much to share, but like something in me is like, how dare you speak up? Don't speak up. You know, it's like a tug of war.
Definitely. So I actually at one point wanted to get like this tattoo that would like force me to like speak up, because I think the tattoo, I forget what the quote was, but it was something like she wanted people to know that she wasn't quiet because she had nothing to say, but because like nobody was listening or something like that. And I really at that time I was like, damn, like that's really how I feel, not knowing that I just wasn't speaking up. Obviously nobody's gonna listen if you're not saying anything. So that's something that I've had to like come to terms with, even within myself, like just speaking up no matter what, and just having a voice for myself. I think that's something that my grandma has taught me too. So I'm trying to embody that more as well.
That I can say 100% my grandma has taught me as well. Cause like she always tells me stories about how like she used to be like, you know, quiet and would like let things happen and stuff like that. And like now she's a lot more aggressive. And I don't want to be more aggressive, but I just want to like be myself out in the open, you know? Um, so I don't ever really feel the need to be overly aggressive as a defense mechanism because I don't want that. Um, you know, but I think subconsciously she teaches me that. But as far as writing though, I feel like that is for a while how I've expressed myself without having to talk or speak or be heard or seen.
Definitely. So I feel like even with my writing, I would just like write it and like come prepared to like writing things and be like, yes, I'm gonna say this poem, and then people would say their poems and they would be like so good that I would be like, nah, like they're not gonna like mine. Like it's totally different from like what people describe as poetry. So I think even defining myself as a poet has changed something in me to be more open to like my type of writing, because I don't even know how I would classify my writing at this point. It's like all over the place between trying to be a poet and then prose. Like before, I really used to tell people like if they like somehow stumbled upon my writing, I'd be like, no, this is prose. Like it's not poetry. Don't try to put me in that box. Like, but I think just being open with yourself in any way that you can, I think has helped me be more into my writing. I don't know. We don't have to put that in there either because I don't know what I was trying to say. So
No, I
sorry.
definitely understand what you're saying. And plus, like, I feel like a lot of writers that I'm meeting are like, I don't know what I would call myself. And it's like, maybe we shouldn't, like, have to, you know, maybe we should just be ourselves. And because writing is a form of expression rather than writing for other people. Yeah, we do write for other people. I can't say I don't, but writing is a form of self-expression, you know? So like sometimes it's poetry, sometimes it's, and honestly, up until like joining the Black Writers Collective, I wasn't writing poetry like that. I was just writing creative writing pieces and not calling it anything. But like I felt, you know, inspired to try more poetry, but it still wasn't really like something that I would consider poetry. I think it is what it is, to be honest. Cause like we are very versatile. We are not one thing.
For real, or the other, we're not. And I think that's the beauty of writing, because even when like in high school, when I really started trying to write poetry, when I learned about poetry, like just when we had that one random section, that's when I was like really excited about it. Reading like random like white women like Sylvia Plath, like I really loved her writing. So I was like, this is the shit that I want to be writing, because it doesn't remind me of poetry either. It's like she's just kind of like telling her story in like different ways and using different metaphors and things like that. And I think that's really what kind of started me on my path. I feel like I'm below.
I love that. I love that. Oh, that's great. I wish cause I don't know, I feel like I really didn't get that much like, could I say that? Yeah, honestly, no. Like in high school, I didn't get like writing inspo like that. I would say I got more film inspo, like with my film class. That was like the best thing ever. Like the projects were so good, and I also do love film, and I am a director, and I am gonna do a lot more directing in the future and work on film projects. And yeah, I love that class. Like that was like a huge, like that really showed me that if I care about something, I will go hard. Like that's what that taught me. Like English and film, I feel like really taught me that if I care about something, I will go hard. If I don't care about it, I will not. That's one thing that I really learned. But yeah, I want to ask you something. What is writing for you? And it doesn't have to be like one thing, of course. But like, what is writing for you? What is your writing for you?
Honestly, if I could describe my writing in like one word, I would definitely say like freedom. So when I write, it's just something to like release like my feelings mostly because I feel like I really do like write in my bag all the time. Like that's really where it sparks my interest when I'm like have a lot of things just in my mind that I can't really describe one way. Then I'll just write it down and then just let the words kind of flow out until then I can like usually I guess something that I don't really share is I usually write like two poems that are like on the same theme, and it'll be one that's just like me like writing all this stuff on the paper, and then like it'll spark an interest where I'm like, oh, I can like actually turn this into something good, so then I'll make it into actually like a poem of sorts or something. So I don't know, I guess that's kind of what my writing is.
I've been trying to do that. That's crazy you say that because like I'm taking this writing course called The Right to Write by Julia Cameron. And like she talks a lot about how writing is a way to develop self so you can express yourself. Um and like basically you're like tuning in a way. You know what I mean? So like you said, you're in your bag. And that's exactly what it is. You know, like when we write, we are literally like facing our emotions and like the things that we feel, the things in our heads, and putting it onto the page. Like we're literally like transmuting it into creative energy, and it turns into a form of art. Um, but yeah, I've been trying to like just allow myself to forget about like being a very skilled writer sometimes and just express myself and just like write as fast as I can before my censor tries to stop me from being more honest, and just say what I need to say, and then later on just if I want to use it for something, or like if I want to, you know, fix it up, I can do that. But I find when I'm like worried too much about the vocabulary and, you know, being a skilled writer, which we both are, but like the most important thing is the passion. I Okay, that led perfectly. I actually wasn't even gonna bring this up, but that led perfectly to this. So I recently found an essay of mine when I was 11 years old. My mom found it. She has it in her like in a storage thingy in her bedroom. And it's like an essay that I wrote when I was in sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade. And it says my mom's biography. And I literally wrote this essay at like 11, 10 or 11 years old.
Calligraphy for me.
And like it's low key all over the place. And it's not even really like a biography because it started to be more about me. And it started about her, but like then I started talking about my family and all that. It's crazy, but like it's so passionate, and like I love that. Like I think this helps me really discover what I love most about my writing, and that's my passion and like the emotion that I put into it, because like I didn't care back then. Like I wasn't worried about how perfect it was. Like I was just going and going, and then after I was just making sure the grammar was good, and then I was like, here you go. You know, like it was very like, I think I might actually like share this one day on when I create like my own website or something, or like have a chance to like be featured in an art gallery or something and have like just things there. Because this, a lot of the things that I talk about are heavy things, some, maybe one thing that like an 11-year-old you wouldn't always. when I read this, after reading it, I thought you would know that this is from a Black boy. You know what I mean? If you were reading this, you would not think this is from a white kid. Just saying. So like I feel like it's necessary to like showcase, some of the things and like self-expression of a 10-year-old, 11-year-old Black boy who comes from where I come from. And like the things that I witnessed in my family and stuff like that. But it is really sweet though. Like the things that I wrote were really sweet, and I really like idolized her when I was that age. Um, but there's a lot of things in there that like I didn't realize meant more than it does. Like sentences that I read and it just like resonates, and then it's like this, what's the word? Reverberates, and it just like I feel like I hear it after I read it like on repeat, replay. For me, I would say my writing is again like a good way of self-expression because I stumble a lot when I talk and I don't know how to like express myself verbally that well. And even like when I call a friend on the phone and I'm like trying to tell them something's wrong and I need help, I am like I'm always saying I don't know, like I always say I don't know, and even after telling them clearly how I feel, I say, but I don't know. And then like specifically my best friend, she's always like, so basically what you're saying is X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay. Like she helps me just like pinpoint everything. But writing is my way of doing that without any help, without anyone, listening. Because I feel so annoyed with myself sometimes when I try to express to someone how I feel because it's just so much. And then I'm just like, okay, I can't do this. Like, because I don't even know. Especially with like relationships sometimes. It's like, I don't know how to tell you what I'm feeling because one, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And two, I'm still figuring out what I'm feeling. So writing is my way to like not censor myself, not be too afraid of what may come out of me and just let it happen because like you're just capturing how you feel in the moment. I'm learning not to like censor myself, not to be afraid of what I feel because those things are always going to be there if I don't write it out.
It's so funny that you say that too, because I was just having a conversation with one of my friends and we were just like talking about like relationships and how like communication like evolves over time. And I guess in terms of writing and how it makes me feel better that you're also the type of person that needs to like sit with your like feelings for some time before you like write it down too. And like I don't know, we were talking about, I don't know if this is off topic or not, but we were talking about how like certain people like can just like sit here and like say a bunch of things like at once. And like my friend, he's that type of person. And I was like, no, like I can't do that. Like it's gonna take me a minute to like understand what's going on in my head because I really don't want to say the wrong thing. Because like if somebody said the wrong thing to me, I would take it personally. So then I'm trying to like not be that person with my partner. So it's just funny because now I guess is that like a writer thing? Like we just need to like sit with our feelings for a little bit or something. I don't know.
No, that's exactly what I feel. And I feel like it's so crazy because like I would always hear my friends and like people around me saying exactly what they feel. And that's just that. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like without being afraid of what people are gonna feel or say. Like how do you do that? And like even if it's in a respectful way, I'm still like, but I don't want because once you say something, that's it. Once you express something, that's it. And I have this fear that things are gonna be like stamped and that's it. Like you said what you said, I'm stamping it, I'm shipping it off, like that's that. You know what I mean? But in writing, I've learned that it really does not have to be that way. Like I can express anything. And plus there's things that I've never expressed for years that were there that I've suppressed that like without me realizing, like just like spill into my writing. And then I'm like, wait, did I just write that? That's crazy.
I definitely understand. And it also goes to say like I feel like with people like we allow others to change. This is something I've been thinking about actually lately. Is just like growth in itself in general, and it's like having like the space, the friends, the family that allow you to take the time to grow and change and evolve. Because I feel like as we're growing up, we don't really know who we are. So like as we just like interact with different people, it's just interesting to see that like people give us the space to like just grow and evolve. And I think with writing we can freely just change how we write. Because I feel like oftentimes, sometimes I'll just randomly like just switch up the way I write, especially after I read like someone's, and I'm like, ooh, that was really cool how they did it. Let me try that real quick. And so I'll just like change it up or something. And I feel like we have to maybe start doing that in ourselves too. But I like doing it in my writing more.
Definitely same. And like, I read a lot. Like, if you ever need any book, listen, I read, and I read different. I love fiction. Like, I feel like I'm deprived of fiction right now. I need to read something, a good story. But like, I've been really into this one author. Like, oh my goodness, the author of Call Me by Your Name, Andre Ackman. Like, I've been reading all of his work, like his nonfiction work, and like, I'm just like, there's a lot of resonance, and like, but I find myself borrowing the way he expresses himself. And because now I'm realizing a lot of things about myself from his like work, I find myself borrowing some of like the way he expresses himself and some of the words that he uses to express myself. And like, it's funny because like the book that I'm reading is about that, and that's exactly what I'm doing. What do you find in writing for others? Because like we talked about you writing, and like a lot of your writing being inspired by your love for other people, um, and those stories, experiences. What do you find? Do you uncover things?
Definitely. So I feel like parts of the time it'll be like me being like, I have so much love to give, like why don't people understand? And then like the more that I write about like the things that I feel, the more I'm like, ooh, that was okay, like a toxic thing. So it like brings up things I'm like, oh, I should probably work on that. So that's what I mean by healing, what I said before. Like it definitely is a healing process of just like reading myself and being like, okay, but that was low-key crazy what you just did. And like sometimes even just like from poem to poem and how like talk about different things. I'm like, damn, like I switch from one person to the next, like I flow, like it's just it's embarrassing sometimes, but I definitely see myself having toxic traits that I'm trying to better myself from, I guess.
I'm laughing because I agree, like same. We need that. We need the page to not judge us. The page can't judge us at all. So like that's why I find like it's so easy to just be like, just write everything that I feel. For a while, it took me time to be able to do that, and still like I still sometimes find myself censoring myself. But lately, I haven't been holding back, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it does like frighten me a little bit, but I mean, it's there. You know, it is what it is. And I agree with you on like that's exactly what I've been uncovering, like things that I did not realize affected other people, and like things that I projected onto others. You know, like I did not realize that for a while, and like it took for me to write and express myself to realize. And like after sitting back and reading it or thinking about it, I'm like, wait, I actually like projected a lot of my own traumas onto this person, and not realizing that. And I think writing really reveals a lot to me about myself and the way that I've acted in certain situations and things that I felt that I thought people needed to foster as their own issues and take care of because we were together, you know, or even friendships. So I definitely agree with that. I would answer that question in the same way, to be honest with you. So I do want to ask you also, like, is there something that you, since we uncover a lot about ourselves in our writing, is there something that like reoccurs a lot in your writing, and you realize that like it's a repeating issue or something that that really matters to you?
I guess I kind of have like two things because low key for me preparing for this, I didn't really, on the low, I didn't know how this was gonna go. So I was like reading a bunch of old writings, being like, okay, maybe I can like recite some random poetry to a topic that he says or something. So like looking back, it seems like a lot of my poetry has either cycled around. I'm gonna be honest. I was like when I say I was toxic, like I was the person that was out here cheating. Like I was a cheater. I will admit, in my past, I was a cheater. So it would be a lot of that where I would just like kind of move on from one person to the other person, thinking that I was in love, and like just moving on, and like it would be the same type of like thing that would push me to be like, okay, this is why I'm leaving. And it wouldn't, there was literally nothing that would push me. So I think something, I don't know, have you heard that song, Track Star? I don't know if you've ever heard that song.
Wait, how does it go?
She's a runner, she's a track star. She will run away when it gets
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, 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 yeah. I know that song.
Like, I actually wrote a poem like recently, I guess, like when I was like really deep. I was like juggling like three people at once on the low. And like I wrote it and it was like talking about how like this person like ran past me. I can read it if you want. It goes, time doesn't exist, just another social construct to let me know I'm falling behind. Yet it seems I'm always racing against the clock, rushing to fill out these applications, rushing to tell you that I love you. Writing it feels like I'm throwing it around carelessly, but I swear it felt like a dream when you whispered it to me so tenderly, almost inaudibly. But I'm glad you run faster than me. I was never that good at sports, always just barely making it in time. It seems I've pushed my luck a little too far this time. I've run out of time, but I'm happy you found a way to cheat the system. Perhaps you'll have more time. Now I'm running at full speed now, hoping to catch up for lost time, but I see someone jogging in the distance. My dad always warned me it's hard to resist in the face of temptation, but I just learned to take my time was a waste of time, and I barely have any left to spare. Already burnt out, but I can't stop running. And you seem to be walking. Don't you know we're running a race, I thought? I pass you by because I still have hope that I can catch up. I'm out of breath, out of time, on the floor. Time doesn't exist. I think I can afford a break. You catch up to me and stroll past without a glance my way. And I don't blame you, but I'm too tired now. I hope you rest easy at the finish line. So I feel like a lot of my writing was evolving around time. And so I would just be like, yeah, like, it's just not the right time. Like, we're sitting here trying to get together. It's about to be a break. Like, you really want to go? Like, until that, like, that was really what it was around. Or, like, just, like, random trauma. But it seemed like I was stuck in a cycle of time.
Wow. Oh my gosh. First, see, this is what I mean. Every time you read something, I always imagine something. Like, it's always like a short film in my mind. Thank you for sharing that. And like, I can say the same. Like, something reoccur. Before I even answer that question, I wanted to ask you one more thing. Before me asking you this, did you realize that that was something that you write about often that comes up, or like something that matters to you a lot?
I think at first I didn't realize until I had a partner before, and that person like made me really like be more open with my writing. I think that was probably one of the first times I ever like shared my writing with anybody, like actually anybody. Like I would like write something and be like, oh, like, can I share this with you? And they'd be so down. So I think then it seemed like I was stuck in a cycle. And so I took this art class one time where I would like write a bunch of things and that would inspire me to like do the art. So I did like, it was art history. So I don't really know why we were making art in the art history class, but we were making art. And so I like knitted this like little piece that just had like cycles around it. But then I think that's when I kind of felt that I was like stuck in a cycle, and that's like the theme of my writing at the time was just me constantly in a cycle. But then I didn't complete the cycle to like say that I'm breaking the cycle. So then I actively tried to like switch it up, but it took me some time because that was like over a year in between of me still writing the same things about time and all of that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
It does. And to answer the question myself, like something, I'll say two things as well. One thing that I find like that appears in my writing a lot uncontrollably is time. And like it also has like it's kind of like braided into like other people, specifically a person. And also my, I would say my inner performer, like, you know, wanting to basically now I'm challenging myself to allow myself to, you know, do other things that I've always loved to do secretly, and really acknowledging who I am. And a lot of that also goes back to a lot of, like you said, trauma, and my experience with my inner performer not having a supportive creative environment when I was a kid, especially because I was so heavily influenced by female pop artists. Um, you know, so like that wasn't really accepted from a lot of the adults in my family. But I think that I'm kind of like realigning and like realizing what I want apart from judgment, and forgiving myself for judging others, you know, stemming from self-hatred. And now like stepping into my power and not being afraid to be seen. It's so hard, but I'm working on it. I believe that I will get there. I have a lot of support right now, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, anyway, I write a lot about time and like conceptualizing other people, and me being such a creator to the point where, you know, creativity has a lot to do with imagining things. It comes from reality, but also we imagine a lot of things. And my upbringing, I imagined a lot because, you know, you get tired of a lot of the things that you grew up around when you're from where I'm from, you know. So I imagined a lot. And like, I don't know if you listen to Tinashe's music, but she has a song called Pasadena, and I'm a huge fan of her. She has a song called Pasadena, and like I until like I loved her music so much, but like up until now that I'm like really like thinking about time and writing about it, and my like the way that I project these things that I want onto others, and it makes them seem more than what they are to me. And even after years of not speaking, I yearn them sometimes. I long for them sometimes. Like her music, like now I'm starting to understand it more, especially songs for you. um that I loved it, but like I didn't relate to it as much as like I didn't realize how much I related to it. But Pasadena, I saw the video today, and she says I wasn't built for a simple life. I have something to read to you too, since you read something. She says I wasn't built for a simple life, and that's because but in the video, sorry, I'm all over the place. In the music video, she's like on land performing and dancing. It came out today. I don't know if you've seen it yet. So good. I don't want to spoil it. Should I?
You could spoil it. I'll
Okay.
definitely watch it like after this or something
Okay.
then.
Again, like borrowing people's art to like consider your own experience and like understand it more. When I was watching the video, the cover of the song, she's like in some like room, right? And she has like the yeah, the goggles on. What do you call that?
VR, like
Yeah.
the yeah.
And she's in like a virtual world. Um but like she's in reality, in space and time, she's sitting in a really dark place. And like when I saw that, I was like, I know exactly what you're saying, Tinashe. Like I get it. Because like for years that was me, like, you know, in my bedroom going through depression for like most of my teenage life, and listening to Little Mix and like my favorite artist, pretending in my head that it's me on stage. Like, and just her sitting there like that, it just made me imagine and picture myself. And like at the end of the music video, when I was watching the video, first of all, I looked and I was like, imagine at the end, she's actually imagining all of this, or it's like she's looking through the thingy. And then that's what happened at the end, you know? And it became a coping mechanism for me, like being so creative up here to like be okay with what's going on, you know? I think that's, but being that I got so used to doing that, it spilled a lot into relationships and friendships and like conceptualizing people. But yeah, I noticed a lot of that in my writing now. I'm gonna read something to you. I just like rambled, but I'm gonna read something to you. How I do one thing is how I do everything, perhaps. I do things by imagining doing something else as I am doing it. I walk down the slightly steep sidewalk to Cafe de Regular as I imagine another scenario of any kind. I put on shoes in my bedroom. I put on shows in my bedroom. And as I tell it, I am wearing a carefully sewn costume with sparkles, and the wall is indeed an audience. An audience that I've carefully created myself, people who I've secretly always wanted to impress, carefully placed in different sections of the theater. My dingy pillow being a lover whom I wake up next to and lean closer into to cue morning affection, sex before the day begins, a lover who no longer exists anymore and may have never, a lover who is in fact a real person with a real life of his own and a lover of his own. I take my nightly shower and I am, with the help of the curtains of blue seashells and the awful paint job of ocean blue, although its help I do not need, I am in Little Mix's holiday music video. I was never meant for a simple life.
I like that.
it was a lot about like basically just that imagining and like creating an experience that's not real that I wish was. Okay, now this has a lot to do with conceptualizing someone, a being, and yeah, a lot of it all being in my head. I fostered you. That way I don't have to worry. I imagine fostering you in the apartment like witness protection. We keep things casual until the night that you knock on my bedroom door and ask, is it okay if I sleep with you? I show you that I've already made room for you. I've always saved room for you, even when I forgot that I was. I fostered yous. I fostered many versions of you. I fostered the you that sees me around New York City. As you notice, my peeking at our familiar places, while I bike right past places, remembering what's now all gone, and yet sometimes lingering. It all existed. It only all exists in my mind, and now on this page. You don't even have the hair I imagine anymore. I know that now, yet I still imagine you with hair. There may not be another way. I've already fostered you. I fostered a you that's not even you anymore, is still you, and may have never been you. There's what I want to see, what I've seen, what is, what isn't. I choose differently depending on where I am, how I am. Yeah, I hope that made sense. I wrote that actually last night, I think, and I just let it all come out.
That was a really good piece. Like a really good piece. When I say okay, I feel like I'm glad that we both resonate with each other's writing because that was a really good piece. And so I don't know. I'm gonna just keep saying it because it was really good. That was good. I feel like with conceptualizing people, not to talk about astrology, but to talk about astrology, like they always say, I don't know. I know that you said you're a Capricorn, but do you remember? I don't remember like what your moon sign, your rising sign was.
My moon is a Scorpio, and I'm a Leo rising.
Ooh, okay. They always talk about how they say Pisces, but I feel like maybe water signs in general too. They always say like they're the ones creating their own like imaginary world space. So whenever you say that, like I really resonate in just like trying to come up with this world where I don't know what the word is. Because I was thinking of something when you said conceptualize, kind of like I can't remember the word at this time. Damn. Like just I guess imagining like what it would be like if it was a perfect world.
Yeah, I like creating your own idea. Definitely.
Idealizing, yeah, like
Exactly, there
idealizing.
we
Yeah,
go.
that's the word. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And I've realized that I've done that for a long time. But like as humans, we do that. Like even with our parents when we were kids, we idolize them, you know. But yeah, that piece was about that last one was about someone in particular who I feel so sometimes connected to the time that we spent together. But like it's so weird because like I find myself I'm starting to like realize that like being in love with someone and loving them. Like I knew it was two different things, but I think that we always talk about how being in love with someone is more important than loving them. And I don't know how I feel about that anymore because like being in love with someone, you're willing to overlook a lot. You overlook a lot whether you realize it or not, but loving someone, it's more of an action, and it's more of a healthy thing. Like being in love with someone, yeah, it's beautiful, but like not loving them, that doesn't work, you know. And I realized that with that relationship, that I was referring to here, like I was in love with that person and I conceptualized that person while being with them. It was almost like being with two people in a way, um, because I was creating these things that may not have existed, to the point where I don't even remember a lot of the real things, which sucks, but like it's true, you know. Until like there's times where I'm in a certain place or I smell a certain smell and then I remember some things. But like on my own, I create a lot of things.
That's something I think I also do a lot in my writing too. So much so that it'll like spill into my dreams. Like whenever you say that you would like write down your dreams too. I used to do that a lot as well. And it seemed like what I would always like do is I would like imagine a scenario like if I was about to go on a date or something, I would be like, okay, this is how I want the date to go. And obviously it would never go like that. So I was like, I need to just stop trying to imagine things happening, because like it's never gonna end up like that. And literally, I guess the worst part about it is usually when I would imagine these things, it would go left. Like I would be like imagining this really like great experience, and it would end up being like really really shitty. And I was like, wow, like just the thought of idealizing things is really like weird, because I feel like that kind of bit me in the butt a lot of times. And then even with projecting, I would then start writing poems about how I felt like these people only liked the idea of me, or like they didn't know who I really was. Also for the fact that I didn't really like always want to share all of my feelings. Like it took me to like one of my last partners to like really start like sharing my like poetry with people. So like imagine all the feelings I was storing up and like never brought up to like these people. So I definitely understand.
I agree. And like my writing also helps me to not be passive aggressive with people because like I'm actually expressing it. And a lot of the things that I feel about people or from people, a lot of the time it has so much less to do with them and more to do with my own internal battle. So like taking the time to like write about it in my morning pages or write about it in general, to really understand it first helps so much because like I'm not just like I like to take time now to like distinguish between something that needs to be acted out on or acted in.
I guess maybe that is like a human flaw, just like trying to idealize every situation and like making it. That's the kind of weird part about the difference between idealization and then like manifestation. Because I feel like lately I've been manifesting a lot of great things, but then like when I was idealizing certain things, it was fucked up.
Goodness. We could talk about that for a long time, honestly. Like that's something I've been learning a lot about, like on my own. So I'm glad that you understand. And artists, I think a lot of different artists of any kind know a lot about that, to be honest with you. But I want to talk to you about my writing workshop last year that I'm so glad that you were a part of. So glad because like that space felt so safe for me, and I hope you felt that way. Um, and I was so glad when I got your message after. But like it just felt so good to encourage other people to like be themselves in their writing. Like that was something so tender and something that I feel like we all needed. And the reason why I let me explain first. For people watching, I did a writing workshop with Making Space, which is a BIPOC peer mentorship. Um, and we share a lot of our creativity with each other and we in ways mentor each other. It's a beautiful space created by Kiona and Sana, um, all the way in Canada, but I'm very very grateful that we could connect through Zoom. But I heard a lot of my friends telling me that like they felt fatigued from school, and like specifically my writer friends talking about how they felt like they want to just be and just express themselves in the way that suits them creatively in their writing, but like they felt like, you know, their school or institutions wanted them to do things a certain way, and professors, white professors, wanted them to do things a certain way. And people in Making Space were kind of saying the same thing, I believe, if I remember it correctly. We do talk about this sometimes anyway, but I was like, we need something where we could all just be ourselves as individuals, express whatever we want. So that's why I wanted everyone to bring their own prompt. And we were just gonna write about what that means to us. And it was so beautiful. Like I have not experienced anything like that. Like I felt so full. I felt so full, so full. But yeah, like institutions and like schools and like that stuff is not our identities, and like a lot of the time we don't get the creative support that we need. So I really wanted to like have that within, you know, the space for all of us. But I was very grateful that you came and you shared your writing. It was amazing. And I got to clear my chest, express some things that I was overwhelmed with, you know, from my childhood and my past. But yeah, how did it feel to share your writing with people that you didn't know in that space and just be so authentic, vulnerable?
I think it really helped because it was at like the perfect time, not to talk about timing again, but it really was at the perfect time because it felt like just in general, like everybody, like you said, like your friends, even my friends were saying the same thing about just being tired and never having like the time to write. And I was kind of feeling the same way where it felt like I was just like so busy doing schoolwork and then coming home late to do more schoolwork that it just never felt like I had the right time to do that. So you allowing us to also just bring in prompts and just write freely was nice. I definitely appreciated that. And just the space was also really nice. I really like the message of making space. I think that's why I felt more comfortable because you can really write anything, and that's like the point of the space is just to be you as well. And then with your prompts of just being authentically you. And I think it may be because I didn't know them, I felt more confident because like, well, they don't know who I am as a person, so I could write anything and they would just be like, okay, that's her. Like, you know, I don't know. It feels more uncomfortable to like share with people I know because then it's like maybe they've seen me when I was in that situation and they like know the whole backstory of it. It's like I'm just trying to give you just a little snippet, not the whole thing. So I really appreciated that.
What I remember most about your writing that day, what I loved was the way you expressed how you like felt bad about feeling something. Like you felt bad for associating something that someone close to you associated with someone else that you associated with that person, right? Can we talk about it?
Let me try to find it. I feel like I wrote it down somewhere. Let me see. Like I wanted to try to do a series on like the different types of love. I remember sharing that with you. I haven't completed that series. I did like 2 parts and then that was it. And it was all on like familial love. So that one's called Storage. And so I wrote it on the butterflies. And my roommate back in college and undergrad for my freshman and sophomore year, she was like obsessed with butterflies, and she had said like these things about butterflies, and I kind of took that theme and kind of projected it onto my writing as well. So the butterfly fluttered over the dirt, reminding me of what my roommate once told me. She explained to me how each time she saw a butterfly, it was a symbol of her dad. I know it's selfish of me to think of her as a butterfly too. We can't all become butterflies in our next life, right? Seeing the white yellowish color of their wings flash iridescently in the sun, I couldn't help it. But what of the caterpillar? Are the butterfly and caterpillar two different species? When it sheds itself from the cocoon, does it remember its past self? Feeding on the nature's gifts around it, will it revisit its past, or will it fly to new heights, forgetting all that it once knew? I cried tears of sadness, overwhelmed that in her new form she thought of us. And before she took off into the distant forest to discover new wonders, I think she kissed her old self goodbye and in turn wished us well. Part of me wishes I would have captured this butterfly to be able to relish in their beauty for days. How long do butterflies survive anyway? Butterflies deserve to be free, like she is now, and I suppose she finally is. So,
I'm so happy to hear that again. Love that. It's like you're telling your story, but in a way also this person's as well. And I love the butterfly association. Like I love that.
with this piece, it was about my grandma because she passed away recently. She's the one that like pushed me to be like also more authentic myself. She's from Brooklyn, so you know they don't come to play out there. So she also didn't play. So like when I saw that butterfly, and my friend also being from New York City, she's from the Bronx though, but like literally she'd be like, yeah, every time I see a butterfly, like I know that's my dad. And I also like I've written some other butterfly pieces before, but then like seeing it in like a better light, I was like, damn, like now butterflies don't have to have like a bad connotation, because I feel like that was such a beautiful way of her describing it, just like on a side occasion that I was like, this is really how I'm feeling at this moment in time, because I was really struggling to process all of that, and then having like that one comforting memory. And so it helps. And ironically, I really did see a butterfly whenever we were burying her. So I was like, yo, maybe this really is something. So
I believe it, especially if you do. I believe it. Wow, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, wow. It's funny you say that because like my grandma and I are close, and when we would do, I remember the second time we met with the Black Writers Collective, and I think you read that piece, and it was about someone seeing you, and yes, and you were like on the train, and some of it, I
I don't think I was on a train, but it was definitely just like it was about like my ex-girlfriend at the time, and like I was seeing her in like a different light. I guess it was the first time where I was trying to not be toxic.
okay.
So I was like actively listening and doing all this,
Mm.
and like when I was actively listening to her, like I saw a lot of things that like I saw myself from whenever I was in past relationships. So that's kind of what that poem was about. Should I read it?
Not me imagining you being on the train.
I think you
Uh,
were, because I
I was,
don't think I was in it.
yeah, I feel like every time I hear you writing, I imagine something. So like I was imagining you looking at this person and talking like on the train, sitting to each other, like turned to each other a little bit. I don't know. I always do that. I always do that. Not me creating a story. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Conceptualize my poetry now.
I'm so sorry, but yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I imagined that. That's weird. Maybe because I thought of my own. Because I remember telling you that it resonated with me, but like in my own way, and I kind of like projected. But wow.
Yeah, I think that piece was something that in that time we all had like projected on. So I was grateful that you all resonated with it in that instance because it was something. So maybe you can also do what I did with this butterfly poem and write about being on a train. You know, I don't be on these trains. I don't live in New York City, so I don't ever ride a train.
Yeah, and I'd be all over the train. So maybe I should. I think you're right. I'd be all over the train. Um, but yeah, if you want to read that, that would be good. Have you read it since then? Like to
I have
yourself?
no.
Oh.
I've been trying not to read all because sometimes I get in my bag, and so ironically, I was just talking to the same friend about like the whole like how we write about our feelings and things like that. He put me onto this show called High Fidelity, and like Zoe Kravitz is the main character, and she like goes back and she like reconnects with like her exes and like tries to get like this closure that she never had.
Oh.
So like I had really gone on the same journey and I was telling him about it. And so I think that's why I'm trying not to read the old writings to like not bring up old emotions that are kind of counterproductive to where I am now, I guess.
I don't
Cause
know why. Oh, sorry.
oh no, it's okay.
No, I was gonna say I don't know why those things seem like so exciting to us. Like uncovering these things with these past relationships seems so exciting, and yet I feel like it just saddens me more as I go. That's me personally.
No, for me, it wasn't about like excitement. It was just about me like trying to move on. Cause like how you say you idealize things, then I would like romanticize that person and be like, you know, like there was really no reason for us to like break up with each other or do any of that. Like, I don't know. So that was really where that poem kind of came from. It's just like, I'm in the same loop because I definitely have been there before, but then it's like, why are you doing the same thing to me? Like, don't you love me in the same way that you would want me to see you? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. So, but also, like, maybe it would be good to bring it up again. I don't know, we don't have to put this in there, but I'll definitely find it for you so I can read it.
Okay. I also like, I mean, even if I go into it with like, I want to move on, I want to just like, have this conversation. Because I recently did this, and I'm so glad that I did still. Like, I hope this person knows that like I understand things better now, and I don't blame them, and I don't blame myself for things anymore. And I realized that I was projecting a lot onto him. Um, but like, it's like the transaction was different, but the currency was the same. Like, even though I went in with the intention of like, yeah, I'm going to, we're just gonna talk and like I'm gonna be grateful. We're gonna leave it there, and like we don't have to like not, we don't have to be strangers, But then I felt really great. But then like as days went on, I found myself idealizing this person again and wanting this person to like just come to me, you know what I mean? And it was so weird because I was like, wait, what is happening? This is not who I am anymore. This is not what's going on. But it has been like influencing a lot of my writing. So I guess I'm grateful for that, and like I'm using it for something special. Ooh, but it's been a lot. Okay, but I've been talking about it with friends, writing about it, so it helps so much. I want to talk to you about how like our upbringings as Black creators impacts our writing. You know, like what are we saying a lot of the time when it comes to that?
Well, that's a hard question. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know where to begin. I guess like with my upbringing, I don't know. My mom like first got me like a diary, so I guess that's maybe actually where it really started with me just like writing out my feelings in a little diary, and just talking about random things that I had in mind. But I think I don't even know where I'm trying to take this, but I don't know because it's weird when you look back at old writings from like that young. Is like where my mind was. It would just be like, oh, this is how my day was, and like things like that. And then randomly it would be something like, yo, I hate my mom for this kind of stuff. Like it would just be like projecting out all the feelings I had. So I guess in terms of how it influenced my writing, I really don't think about my childhood in that instance. But like now that I've gotten older and like seen some poetry that I wrote, even about like old trauma and things that happened, I think I don't even know, like it just made me feel like I was stuck in this time. Like the time thing kept coming up because having trauma at young ages, I feel like I would block it out my memory because I also moved around. So if I moved from a place, I would just forget everything and just be like, you know what, it's a new life. I'm meeting new people. So then I guess that kind of trickled down into my writing about how I feel like I was rushed for time. So like I'd only have like 4 years in this place. So I'd be like, realistically, can we do anything? Like what is life if you're always stuck like having just 4 years in one place, 4 years in one place kind of thing. So I guess that's kind of how my writing has been influenced by time, just like being growing up in a military household. And it wasn't even that my dad was like, because he was in the military, of him being like strict or anything like that. It was just like constantly moving around and feeling like I'm out of time to be able to actually be myself around like friends and different things like that. So I guess.
Oh wow, you know, I've never like had a friend say that. Like I've always heard about that in like movies and stuff like that. And like that person who feels that way, but like I've never actually had a friend tell me that. Oh my god, wow. Thank you for sharing that, first of all. I would say my upbringing as a like my, you know, being Black, my upbringing influenced my writing a lot in terms of, I guess, being what I needed a long time ago for myself, and like, you know, it's like a way of saying there was nothing wrong with you. You were doing what you loved, and you better continue doing that now that you realize that, you know, because you're only 21. You have so much time. Like, just focus on it because it's what you love. And like, I write about that a lot. And like, sometimes I do feel like I'm stuck in a time period, not gonna lie. But in reality, I'm not. But sometimes I really do. And like, I've been needing a break from that because I find that I have been like, you know, digging and like trying to understand things, not forcing it, but like sometimes it just, yeah, sometimes it can be consuming and I don't want that, you know, like I still, you see how you said you've always felt like, do you like, when do you have enough time to like be yourself if you're moving and stuff like that? Sometimes I feel like, when do I have time to have fun if I'm always trying to like focus on breaking generational curses and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Well, traumas. um and healing it, you know, like healing, like what about also like being 21? Because like I don't think I felt young before, which is so weird to say.
I know, I definitely understand that. I had like, so when I turned 23, I never tweeted it, but I had like this tweet in my mind that I was like, I didn't even experience being 22 because I felt like I was like trying to process everything that had happened like from the years like prior, just coming to terms with all that in myself. So for me at 22, I was really just like diving into all of that like trauma and just trying to like figure out what it is that I want in my life. And I think also maybe me like graduating from college, because it feels like whenever you grow up, it's always like, okay, you're gonna go to high school, and if you want, you go to college, and then it's like after that, nobody says anything about what the world is like. Like you never hear anything. So I feel like that was really like what got me, because even also just moving around from place to place, and I was like, well, maybe I do need to have like another like 4 or 5 years to figure it out. Maybe that's why I'm in grad school, but also like I think that's really what has gotten me through with my writing, just like also processing that in it. And I guess that's what has influenced it. I got off track, but understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, what, like, I agree with you. Like, no one talks about that. And it's like, school is supposed to be life, it seems like, the way society structures things. But it's like, people have these concepts of where you are at a certain age. Mind you, none of us are the same. Mind you, not to like separate people, but like race has a lot to do with our experiences. So like we don't have the same inhibitions as other people, and like internalizations and things that we've like um experienced, but like things that we've developed subconsciously. I hope that makes sense. But like, yeah, I agree with you. Like finding ourselves is such an important part of living a good, healthy life. And like you don't do that unless you actually tune into who you are. Because I've been talking to my friend Melanie a lot about how like we already knew who we were when we were children. You know what I mean? Um, period. You know what I mean? And I think we don't know how we're gonna move around in the world yet, but we know what we want to do. We do it at home, but we just don't know if that's ideal or okay, because it does not look like what things are supposed to look like. And then a lot of us grow up unhappy. We feel like we're deprived of something, but we don't know what. And it could very much be those things or that thing that we knew we loved already. And like, there's so many distractions, and a lot of those distractions they are disguised as necessary things in our lives sometimes.
I feel like one, from the part of like just society and growing up with all these things, I feel like we're pushed to like always find a stable thing that we can like capitalize our lives off of. So I feel like growing up, when you say you want to do like something creative, like being like a writer, or I used to say I wanted to be a fashion designer, like I don't know, like those things, it's like it's hard for you to do, like in where they say it's hard for you to do, but it's really just you pushing yourself to do it. And I feel like my second point is like whenever we like grow up, maybe there's like a psychological point in time where we start to also then like not just be aware of ourselves, but be aware of how others view us. And maybe that's when like the shift happens from us like not wanting to just like jump into things as we once did when we were children, like just being like, I'm gonna do this today and like do all those things, and like do we just stop ourselves? So no, finding like your inner child is what people have been saying a lot recently. Like, I think that really is a good point in like life to do, because like you said, like we knew who we were as children. Like we were confident in ourselves. We didn't really give a fuck about what anybody said. We would just say things. And kids today are still like that. They'll be like, yo, what is good with that person? Like, they'll be like, yo, you shouldn't be saying all this. Like they just they speak their mind. Like we as children, like we were some bold ass people.
And I want to encourage children to be more like that, because like adults hate that. They're always like, shut the fuck up. I don't even know how many times I was told to shut the fuck up. And now, like, speaking is one of the most scariest things. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be careful, and not like cautious, but careful with like the children in my family now, because I know things now, and I want to help. I want to encourage creativity and being who you are. I want to encourage that. That's like my main purpose when it comes to like being an adult now and being around and being seen by the children in my family. and knowing their interests now, like spending more time with them, like my biggest concern is like encouraging that. Because like I can't teach you everything because one, it may not suit who you are, but I want to encourage you to be creative the best way that I can. And show interest, you know, even if it's something that obviously it's not that impressive, like just the idea that they're so into it is impressive to me because it just reminds me a lot of myself. And plus, they're the future. Like, why would you not want to encourage the future? The youth, we got to listen to the youth. We got to listen to the youth.
Really do though. I feel like that's just something that now that you say it, like whenever we were growing up, like people really would be like, yo, why are you talking? Like only speak when you're spoken to or something like that. And honestly, I feel like I'm the same way with my little cousins. Like I'll give them the space to like just like say what they say. And it is kind of interesting just like being able to like see them grow up even in itself. Like I feel like, bitch, I'm a mother, no drama. Like you really just be out here listening to them. And it's like so it's cool because they really are the future. You can see the growth even from generation to generation, how they're going to be more open to like more things. And we have to keep that mindset because I don't know when people start being closed-minded. And like I used to work in City Hall randomly, and one of my coworkers, she was like, yeah, like I used to be a Democrat like you, and recently I just like, well, not recently, but like as I got older, I like had like more conservative ideas. Like I don't know where that came from, but man, like I'm not about to change like my thought process. Like I don't know when you stopped caring about other people, but I don't see that ever happening. So I would like to keep that. Like I feel like with children we should keep fostering them in that sense as well, but continue to have an open mind and free spirit.
Yeah, because the most important thing is like, okay, for example, I found myself for the past few years relying on things for a sense of identity or wholeness, whether that be a person in a relationship, friendships, a job. And it was just so exhausting, you know, and like without any of these things, there was so much like I was just really drained and deprived and depressed, and there was no sense of identity outside of all of that stuff, you know? So like if I were unemployed, I would be freaking out. Like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna spend my days? And thinking back, I'm like, wow, like I was a teenager. I needed to be enjoying. I'm grateful that I'm still very young, but like, wow. Like at that age, I was worried about things that I did not need to be worrying about. I was relying on things for fulfillment that would never fulfill me. And like, even when I go through hard internal battles, knowing what I love and like having that feels so good. Like when the pandemic happened and being in quarantine, I had no choice. And like it was a blessing in many ways for me creatively and developing my sense of self. Because like without the distractions and having things to cling to find some sort of purpose, the purpose was already here. It was already within me. You know, I just needed to tap into that. And I don't want any of the younger children in my family to like have to go and cling to things like a job that's so draining. People who don't care about you or your creativity or what you really love. You know, I don't want that. And like, there's even older people in my family now who are like, I need to have a, you know, saying that I need to have a city job and stuff like that, or things like that. And I'm like, you don't even know what I want. We haven't spoken in years. What are you talking about? Like, you don't even know anything about me. And what I'm trying to do is something that you didn't, and you don't know anything about it. Stay in your place, you know. And that's some period. I don't say that, but that's some period. But I want to encourage them, and I'm still them. You know, I think we forget that, especially like the older people forget. Like we are all still children. That's never going anywhere. We are all the same. You know what I mean? Like we age, but like we all need adventure. We all need creativity. We all need love. And that's just the way of living.
I feel like some of it is just like capitalism. I'm not gonna lie, because it really feels like sometimes, like I don't know about you, but my other grandma, she like worked like a lot, like random odd end jobs and all that. And she kind of has like the same mindset of like needing, like wanting you to have like wanting you, as in my family, like to have stable jobs and things like that. And so even like my parents had that same mindset too, and it's like, where were your dreams? Because it's like, I know you didn't want to do these things in life, and like, how come now that has shifted? I guess it's like class and race issues, because I mean, America is a hard place for people of color, as we all have seen even throughout these years. So I don't know, maybe it stems from that. And maybe that's why I think that's why our writing is also so cool, because we can just be ourselves. And then if we like share that to the world, even like our little family members, they can see like, okay, this is how they were feeling. Like these are valid feelings to have even as well, you know?
Wait, because I never thought about that. Wow. Wow. Okay. You just gave me sharing my writing a whole new meaning. I did not think about that. Like, I would love to read wow, okay? Like, let me just say wow, because I never thought about that. And it's crazy to say that because, like, a lot of, like, me understanding my feelings and things that I've, like, um, experienced and the way I feel about them and things that I've suppressed, like, I understand them more by reading from my favorite authors and what they talk about, the things that they express. So, like, imagine them reading from us in the future and they're like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is something that's real. Wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah, I think that's why I started like trying to share my poetry more, because I actually like, my family is pretty close, I feel like. So like we all follow each other on social media, and not gonna lie, sometimes it is kind of annoying, and I'll feel like I'll try to censor myself, but then like now that we're all older, I'm like, okay, like they can like understand that I'm this type of person, and like this is how I feel. And like I'll get nervous when I see their name like pop up, or like they liked like something where I posted it. I'll be like, oh my gosh, they like it, and like they'll like talk to me about it. I'll be like, okay, so like maybe it is like a good thing. So I don't know. Maybe it is like, you really do just have to share. So I definitely encourage you to do that, because it really is like something nice to even hear them like talk about like my music show, for example. Like my little cousin will really be watching it and be like, I loved when you did this, and it's cool to see that you can like just do random creative things, and like that's also okay to do.
I love that because they're watching, like they really are watching. I love that. I'm proud of you for keeping that in mind when you like share yourself because that is very important. I'm gonna think a lot more about that now when I do share my work because I think about the people who are inspired by my work, like you and other people, but like I didn't think about that until now. Like I thought about encouraging them, but I didn't think about the things that they're gonna see, and it could help them really understand themselves more. Wow. I'm gonna start doing a lot more publications when it comes to my writing. I want to do a writing exercise with you. And I know that a lot of your writing is inspired by people in your life and experiences with people in your life. So I want you and I to take a moment to write something very special about someone in our lives. And we're going to write about them, but we're going to write it as if we were sending it to them. What places do you associate them with? How does this person make you feel? And what in yourself do you see in this person? Okay, so we have written, um, yeah, I want you to start. Who did you write to?
Oh, so I wrote to my current boyfriend. And so I guess to give like a little, I don't know, background, his name, I always thought names have meaning. And so ironically, his name is Suresh. And so it means like ruler of the gods. And so I said, ruler of the gods, you make me feel like a goddess, strong, loving, respected. Take me down these country roads, unashamed of the lack of metal. You see beauty, light, abundance. Ruler of the gods, you make me feel like a goddess, independent, beautiful, sexy. Take me to paradise, unashamed of our bodies. You see love, peace, and joy. Ruler of the gods, you make me feel like a goddess.
That's so beautiful. Wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Wow. Like, I don't know, writing about, like, writing as if I'm writing to someone or for someone, like, it kind of like even pulls things out of me that I didn't realize I felt about them. Did that happen?
That's the funny part when I said that I was like thinking about this. Like when he first had told me his name, I was like, damn, like that's a really strong indication of a name. So then I was like sitting with that for some time. But now that whenever you gave us this prompt of like, how do they make you feel? And I think that's something that's why I haven't been wanting to read my old writings because honestly my old partners didn't make me feel like this. And so I think this really brought that out of me, like honing on to the feelings that I have and like have for this person and how special they make me feel and just things like that, I guess.
It seems like a good way for you to like be conscious in the now with this person. That's amazing. I love that for you. Thank you for sharing that. So beautiful. I wrote to my friend Melanie, who inspires me a lot. She's one of the people who really inspires me. Melanie, I associate you with the ocean. You are water. Water always finds its way home. No barriers separate you from yourself, even if for years you find yourself yearning for parts of your authentic self. You find your way back home. I feel potent, capable, magical around you. I feel like a dancer who is being summoned by the universe through you. The universe may as well be using your body, your words, your voice as a way of saying to me, come, my child. You've been way too stiff. You must dance. And from here, you are going to learn exactly how. In you, I see love. In you, I see myself. In you, I see someone who has been frustrated for a long time and has now found a beautiful way to relinquish control and take back your real powers, the powers that we've been distracted from. I'm coming home.
That was good. I like how you connected it to the water of how water always comes home and then you then flow home through her. That's nice.
Thank you. When I say I have a lot of support, she's one of those people. Thank you for doing this writing exercise with me. It feels so good to write with you and to hear your writing. Like, I love hearing your writing. I did write you a letter recently. I never sent it because I don't have your address yet. I love to send letters. I picked it up during quarantine. I didn't get to send it, but I can read it to you now. And since you're coming to New York soon, I can give it to you then. Um, Tiara, thank you for sharing your writing with me. Your writing reminds me of how special and important it is to capture one's emotions, feelings, experiences, conceptualizations, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And oh, okay. Yeah. Can I start over? I'm gonna start over. Tiara, thank you for sharing your writing with me. Your writing reminds me of how special and important it is to capture one's emotions, feelings, conceptualizations, and truths through writing. When I hear your writing, I hear art. I hear someone who's found a very I'm sorry. I hear someone who's found a way to express what may be harder to say. I hear a voice that is ready to be heard. More people need more of you in your writing. Thank you for caring, listening, understanding. Thank you for being honest. You and your writing are very important. The world needs more of you. The world is going to love you.
That is so sweet. Wow. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Can't wait to finally meet you in person. One, because I'm really excited to finally have time for us to have a little picnic and get to know each other some more. But thank you. I really appreciate that a lot.
Something else that my friend Melanie says to me, she says, the world is going to love you. They just don't know it yet. And I think of you a lot when thinking of that as well. I'm excited for your writing to be shared more because I know a lot of other people are going to be impacted and there's going to be so much resonance for other people. And people are going to get to understand you more.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you because the more that you expand your page and you continue on, even with this series, A Little for the World, like you just starting this is really a beautiful platform in itself. And I'm excited to see you grow more and continue to just write something that is so you and authentic. And I'm just excited for your journey and seeing you grow and flourish in life. So,
Well, thank you so much. I think we can stop the recording now. I feel like we got enough. That was it though. Yeah, that was it. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And I'm so grateful for you. And thank you for supporting my writing because it does a lot.
thank you for having me. Thank you for just being there. Also, because I really enjoy your writing like a lot. Like it really does resonate with me. And the more that you just continue to write, I know that you'll reach even more audiences who feel the same way. So I'm excited for more growth. But I'm also just thankful that you thought of me for this because I really do enjoy the series that you had. So thank you.
I'm excited for people to hear from you here because you're very special.
What a surprise, you have opened my eyes. I see love, powers in you. Such a beautiful view of the world. Healing is real. You recreate what you feel through your words.